He gets a whole semester off rather than.
And you didn't get to go to Italy and
I determined not to because we have some other trips coming up and it's kind of funny. He's also traveling some of those areas.
Oh,
that's us.
Yeah.
that is you guys. Sorry.
Our mics are off.
Yeah, I don't know how that's happened. If I'm
That way,
being
if
honest.
said anything inappropriate, he could beat
Yeah,
us.
just like,
Yeah.
we are good together. That'll be really fun.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, the other trip. Fun solo. Just staying home to watch the dogs. Mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Okay, now go. Working?
Well,
Doesn't sound any different to me.
well, Marcia's online. Ask her how she sounds.
Are you on, Marcia?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so I guess we're good. So this is the March 11th, 2025 City Council and Redevelopment Agency Work Session. Let the roll reflect that all council members present. Of Council Chief, who has asked to be excused. Chair White is online and would you like to say, Chair White?
Hey there. Just so you know, I'm looking literally across the street at the FBI building, and I'm wondering if they're spying on me.
Or almost certainly.
I'm gonna wave. Hey,
Yeah, be friendly.
yeah, right, exactly.
It's gonna feel like we're interviewing Rich from.
It does feel like that. There's
Yeah.
my side the over here, except for Janine. Anyway, so let's review the council meeting, or I guess the redevelopment agency agenda, just breeze through that. We've got a administration about the community investment area. And anybody have any questions, concerns, comments about that? Okay. Then we have the proposed real estate purchase contract at 2325 Madison Avenue. Anybody have questions or concerns or comments about that? Okay. Then our comment at the end of that meeting, that's the only meeting that we have in the other room. And so that will be that. So today in our work session, first item we have on our agenda is Gold Foundation Annual Report, and we have Troy here. So we'll welcome, and Troy. Okay. Welcome. Glad you're with us. Yeah, you're missing out on the hat, Marcia. You don't get your hat.
Ah, dang it. Troy, leave me one, man. Leave me
Oh,
one.
Right
Okay.
here, it's on the thing for it. Put it in your mailbox. Cool. Well, yeah, thanks for having me. I think it was a little less than a year ago.
Yeah.
That I came in the first time and, oh, I'm gonna push the button. Okay, now I'm on. Anyway, I think last time I was here, I was in this role for a couple of months, so it was pretty green to the spot, but really familiar with Goal and the product we produce in the area here. And so I'm really excited now to have had some tenure in my spot and present to you our 2024 annual report. So, we open up our annual report with images that we find impactful, based around what we do. And for us, this image was one of many, many thousand that we capture at the marathon and our other events that we just felt like really captured the spirit of, what the Ogden Marathon does for the community. This is not the top finisher of the full or the half, but an extremely happy family coming through together, hands, up high, cherishing the finish line moment, as they do. And as you can see, obviously everybody, cheering them on down the sidelines. So we're really proud of moments like that. And again, I'm humbled to be part of it and grateful that Ogden City helped support this event. So, I'll use this to next. What do we next? Let's see. Oh, there we go. So quick message from me. Gonna introduce myself last year. I'm a bit more seasoned. I'm gonna say I'm new for at least 3 more years in this role. There's so much to learn, so many people to meet. But I'm ever more grateful every day that I'm in the role that I took this position with Goal Foundation. And every time I meet with a municipal partner or somebody else, I just kind of humbled by the partnerships that exist out there and the commitment to excellence in the community and behind our mission and vision. So that's me. So 2024 events, we ran our winter running series on February 17th, the 5K, March 2nd, a 10K, March 16th, a 10 mile, and April 6th, a half marathon. All those went off quite well, windy and cold for many of them, but they all went off really well. And again, the municipal partnerships and community support was amazing for each of those. Ogden Marathon happened May 18th with the Fun and Fitness Expo on the 17th. And we produced a survey out to our participants and other stakeholders in that, and just had a raging NPS score, a net provider score, which is kind of the main question is, would they refer somebody to come to our event? And it was, I think we were at 89, which is just it's beyond normal kind of NPS score. So really reflects again on those commitments and how the event went off last year in particular. Dozens of years of amazing success with the event, but last year really was a testament to that. So we had a full half relay, 12K, 5K, and then our amazing Kids K at the Finish Line Festival. So we're excited about that. Another big project, signature event we added was the Northern Utah Trail Fest that happened October 4th through the 6th. It's a trail run, 3, 6, or 9 hour. And then we added a duo combination on that as well. And then we have a mountain bike race that happens at the same time, 3 hours, 6 hours, or a 6-hour duo. So you can rotate between. This was our 3rd year running that event, and we had almost 2,000 attendees and participants total. We're expecting around 2,500 to 3,000 this year. So it's ever growing, ever more popular. And we're really excited again for those events to come on. That's already launched for registration. If you haven't booked it yet, you should. Our staff is, small but mighty. We're a team of 6. We're actually transitioning one staff, moved over to Ogden Downtown Alliance. We're really excited for her role there. And we're interviewing, I think, 9 candidates over the next 2 days to fill a new role that we'll be calling the operations manager. Alex Docta, our events operations manager, is going to elevate to a director of ops. And we're going to hire an ops manager to help facilitate some additional fine tuning of events and different things there. But, we're 6 of, I would say, hundreds of people that are involved in the events that we do, the marathon, the winter running series, the community programming. Everything we do takes, tons and tons of hands and lots of people with dedication. And that's, from the municipal partners like Ogden City, and each of the departments with police and fire and everything else. So we're grateful, and we got an amazing culture rocking right now at Goal, and I'm excited to be part of it. Our impact for last year, we were able to host 65 free community events. Those are things like yoga in the park that we do right down here in Ogden. We added some new series up at the Monarch. They've been graceful gracious with donating some space for us to do things in the shoulder season. So when it's colder and or hot, we're able to bring yoga inside and offer that to the community for free. There's no expectation of a donation or any service at all. We just we use our other fundraising and efforts to help subsidize that and bring it to the community for free. We collected just under $2,000 for our green initiative. And we've got to refocus this year on growing that campaign as well. But we take those dollars and work with the dailies to find great places to plant trees and help a sustained green environment. We donated 182 pairs of athletic shoes and 10 pair of hiking poles. Those were to some of our partners like Golden Hour Senior Center, Youth Impact, and a couple others. So again, grateful for the partnerships. The Young Subaru Share the Love program helps fund some of that, and then other community donations and things to help put that together. In addition to that, we awarded $4,350 in youth camp scholarships. $5,000 in group grants were awarded, and we also awarded $2,812 to Ogden Untamed program for scholarships with that program. And this year we've earmarked the same and or a little bit more to each of those endeavors as well. And our intentions are, in addition to continue to grow, subsidizing and providing financial aid for our programming or hikes, or hiking camps and those types of things for those who may not be able to engage in it otherwise. So we're excited to be able to grow that program. Goal is built on volunteerism, and we contributed over 7,000 total volunteer hours last year per our records. But we also understand internally that our records aren't perfect, and we think we're probably closer to 1,400 actual volunteers and maybe closer to 9,000, 9,500 in volunteer hours that just don't get documented through board participation and other things that don't land in a volunteer shift through our GivePulse system and things. But these are reportable numbers we're excited to stand behind, and again, the growth is continual. So the Ogden Marathon had 6,658 total registrations last year, which was up 350 from 2023. Our estimated economic impact was 1.87 million. We had a little over 20,000 visitors at the finish line on marathon day. That's inclusive of participants and all the visitors and spectators and everything that come through. We had 117 corporate wellness program participants, and that area is also growing. So these are companies that have committed to their employees and staff's well-being and are willing to either subsidize or pay for their marathon entries at large. So that's a space in our registration platform we're seeing grow. Had 77 unique vendors, and we had 123 participants receive a Boston qualifier time, which is really cool. We had people from 46 states and 11 countries. So don't know why those other states haven't come down, but we're working on it. Every year we have one or two that won't make it. So anyway, so those are a couple highlights there. We pride ourselves on our local artist selection. So last year, Jenilyn Kingsley is a local artist up here on Ogden's East Bench that was selected to help produce the marathon art, of which some of those elements get incorporated into the medal and the t-shirt as well. And then we celebrate that artist in our annual report here. For the Kids K, Granite is our proud sponsor of the Kids K title sponsor there. We had 500 kids participate for free. Again, if you've seen anything exciting at the marathon, it's possible that it was the Kids K. It's really pretty incredible seeing that. The Ogden Police Department comes down with their Harleys, revs the engines. We've got a kids DJ that's bumping tunes and getting them excited. And it's truly just as fun to watch that as it is to watch the first finisher of the full marathon come screaming through. And for us, it's right in line with our mission and vision of instilling this spirit of participating in athletic endeavors from a young age and keeping them healthy and engaged in things, whether it's our marathon or some other event. We're just glad to see them there. So Krista Windsor, if you know her from town, she's been a goal affiliate for a long, long time. She was awarded our Hall of Fame inductee last year. So proud to have her on board. We have 189 Legacy Club members with 15 new inductees last year. That's people who have ran the marathon between 10 or 20 years plus. So that is also a growing category. We're seeing people that we have a queue that we watch who's coming through, and that list is just growing and growing and growing. So really excited to see people come back again and again and again for the Ogden Marathon because they love the city and the event at large. Quick breakdown of some of the community events that we ran. Again, community hikes, after school fitness programs, the Kids K, our Finish Line Festival, training clinics, different things like that we ran. Those are just a small sample of the 65 things that we did. And then again, a summary of some of the signature events that we run. So those are all fun, big things that we do. Community programs, we had over 160 participants, awarded 26 scholarships. Again, the focus was mountain biking, indoor rock climbing and hiking. And then again, our goal is to continue to grow the scholarship endeavor. And this year we're on track to do that for sure. One unique thing about the marathon as well is it's kind of the one day a year it gets closed down on purpose, not a rock slide or a road failure of some sort. And so the Ogden Marathon Curl Canyon cleanup crew each year assembles a crew of people from within the canyon and surrounding area to help clean up Ogden Canyon. We help support with a trash truck and everything else. And last year they retrieved over 5,000 pounds of trash from the canyon. So that's along the roadside and even down on the banks of the river and everything else. So we like to think every year it would get less and less, but it seems that every year we pick up 5,000 or so pounds of trash out of the river and out of the canyon. But again, it's a unique opportunity for us to take this event and add another layer of something good that can happen for the community by beautifying a space that's usually pretty difficult to clean up just because of traffic and that. So really proud to be part of that. We have a new program for partner spotlights. So we work with all sorts of different community partners. And this year we awarded our partner spotlight to Enable Utah. They do support the marathon and quite a few other endeavors with us, wash all of our water jugs, which there's plenty of water jugs for the water stations, as well as provide a box truck for the event on the day of. And Gavin down there is just an amazing individual. And so we went and toured the plant as well as celebrated their participation with Goal Foundation at large, and most specifically though the marathon. So they're a huge contributor in making that event a success, and they love it. And their staff there love washing the jugs for us. They get excited about that program and that possibility when it comes to. So we're excited to have that happen. Again, Goal was really founded on volunteerism, continuing the spirit of volunteerism inside of our community after the Olympics. And so it seems right to make sure we have a volunteer spotlight. And this last year, we chose Dan Sparky as our volunteer of the year for the volunteer spotlight. Sparky, if you don't know him, is just an amazing guy. Every time you text him or call him, he'll reciprocate with a picture of where he's at. And it's usually something like this, where he's standing on top of some cool mountain somewhere. He's either there or was recently there, but that's the communication you get with him. And for us, it just really resonated again with the mission of getting out and living, because he's continually and consistently doing that. So we're proud to have Dan as part of our program. Tons of sponsors and affiliates that help make all this happen. And here's a quick list. I don't think I'll go through the whole thing. I don't want you to glaze your eyes over too much, but obviously Ogden City is a huge part of what we do and a huge piece of our success. So we're just grateful to be able to, be in partnership with Ogden City and our other local partners there as well. As well, we have a bunch of other donors that help us out. Share the Love with Subaru is very generous with, they have a program where when you purchase a car through them at a certain time of year, they donate. You get to select which program you donate to, and they match a portion of that. And that again helps fund a part of our shoe program and subsidizes our camps. And so we're really grateful to have them as a partner in what we do. Quick list of our other community partners. Obviously Ogden Downtown Alliance, Weber County, Utah Life Elevated, Trails Foundation, Weber County Parks and Recs, the RAMP Grant Funds, Weber State University, and Visit Ogden. So we're excited for all of those. We are a nonprofit and have a 13-member voting board and ex officios as well. And just grateful for all that we can do. So maybe a quick highlight, one change of the marathon this year that you'll see come together is we did move our expo downtown to the Eccles Conference Center. So that's where your bag pickup will be if you're participating in the marathon. That's where the Fun and Fitness Expo will be happening. So you can go visit the vendor booths there. We're really excited about that. We loved it at Weber State as well. There's a lot of graduations, same day of our marathon expo. So parking became a thing and everything else. But one of the big reasons we moved it there is proximity to downtown Ogden. We feel like it's going to have a bigger impact on the economics of 25th Street for the evening. People will hopefully come, get their bag, and then go down and visit the shops, have lunch, have dinner, whatever that is, and get a little more centralized Ogden experience at their packet pickup right down here for us. And plus, it's right across the street from my office, so I can scoot over and check on things. So yeah, again, I'm really humbled every corner I turn when Goal needs something. It seems like the community's there to help us out, and Ogden is a big part of that. Every question I have seems to get answered or routed to just amazing people that support us. So couldn't be more grateful, couldn't be more thrilled to be in the spot that I'm in. It's a unique place to work and it's a unique group to be involved in. And again, the group is not just the 6 staff that we have, but the broader partners and community that we get to work with. So that's my report. Try to keep it succinct. I know you've got lots to do today, so.
Thanks, Troy. Anybody have questions or accolades?
Do.
Sure.
Really like your report, Troy, because you brought it into measurables.
Yeah.
And you reported a lot of statistics and numbers. And the thing that is most interesting to me is I would call them key indicators.
Yeah.
Because it kind of shows where you're putting your emphasis and where the growth and improvement is at. And it's nice that you have that drive and passion to do all the research and bring all that data, because that's not a small feat to be able to do. And so I just want to say thanks for that and kudos for
Thank you.
a great report.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the measure of success is hard to know without knowing what that baseline is. So we take pride on that. And it's hard to capture and gather the data and gain confidence in it as well. But again, those community partners, Visit Ogden, for instance, we work with them closely on the economic impact report and others. So it's, it's not just our team, but broad group of people that help make it happen. So
And then Troy, just one other quick thing I just want to point out is a shout out to our city administration, our firefighters and police department who play a part in
huge.
every,
part.
and of course, the sheriff's department, but we're really focusing on the city today because they just do a phenomenal job in supporting your activities as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
great
when
job
we-
for.
Yeah, we put our next meeting together at the end of March here with the full broad group, and it's an impressive room of people that have major responsibilities within the city, and everyone comes to the table to help make this a success, for the broader community, and it's truly amazing to see it happen. So, cool. Yeah, well, thank you for your time, and Bart,
You're
yeah.
green.
I'll just say,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I started out doing the Ogden, well, an event at the Ogden Marathon. One of those. But
Never
it's-
say
it's-
just the half,
it-
though.
yeah,
Whenever someone
it's-
says just the half,
it's
I'm like,
world
that's still
class,
13
but
months.
I mean, in the last couple of years, I've branched out and done more and more activities, and every one of them's phenomenal, and I see you at
great.
all of them, and
Yep.
you do a great job, and
Thank you.
everything Go puts on is top notch, and I think that's why they continue to grow, and
Cool.
our numbers continue to increase, so great job.
Well, thanks for showing up. It's good to see you
Yeah,
there in
it's
the
fun.
mornings as well.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I was just gonna ask, ditto to everything everybody said, love all the work. But what about ramping up to the next Olympics? How's that going? Is there, what can we help with? Or,
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit of a runway here, but I'm sure that you're planning a lot for that.
Yeah, we are. So there is a pre-Olympic planning committee that's been established with Visit Ogden, myself, Oda's on that. We've got a handful of great people. Mara attends those as well. And so the conversations right now are really like, what's the strategic plan to make it a win for downtown Ogden and Ogden proper for the Olympics? The unfortunate scenario of 2002 was we kind of got a little bit bypassed with the traffic up to the resort and back to Salt Lake City, and didn't have a lot of routes of activity that was a focus here. And so I think the general sentiment of that committee is like, how do we make sure that Ogden is the spotlight, and then we have some real activations downtown. Obviously having curling at Weber State, if that comes together, will be huge, but additional things happening. So we're working with that group, to assemble the volunteer list, and it's a little ways away, but it's actually only 9, and boy, it happens fast. You guys, especially in municipal planning, right? You blink and all of a sudden it's 3 years, and holy cow, that went by fast. So yeah, we're making proactive measures to make sure we're in front of that, and still a little TBD on the specifics, but I think it's gonna be really exciting, and we're gonna see some cool, fun stuff happen. And again, goals sort of birth came from that spirit of volunteerism at the Olympics, and I hope to get that, not that we've lost energy, but re-energize that whole concept of volunteerism to make a community what it is, and so yeah. We'll see
And I
some fun
wasn't
stuff.
living here at the time. I was actually in New York City watching
Okay.
the Olympics
Right.
here. But how does that work with the mechanism? Do all the volunteers go through the Gold Foundation to sign up to help with an event like that? Or, is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, TBD still.
Yeah.
That would be part of my goal. Yeah, is that we would help facilitate and be the the organizer and dispatcher of those volunteers, and then different groups would help facilitate the on-site execution of some of those things. As we get further down the road with the Salt Lake Olympic Committee and the IOC, we'll start to determine like who and how we patch those people in. So like Snow Basin, for instance, will need 1,500 to 2,500 people
Right.
each day for almost a solid 2 weeks to run the alpine events there. And so, you know, how they get there, the logistics of planning the busing and the lunches and the coats and all the things.
Sounds
just-
like you're ready. You're getting it all figured out.
I'm ready-ish, yeah. So I think those are all things that we'll be, you know, headfirst in and really diving in on what, you know, what parts need to be sorted out and then who can really contribute the best to each space. So, yeah, and there's a lot of really cool people at the table right now that are just ready to help make it happen. And yeah, I envision us being highly involved and deeply ingrained in all of that. So pretty exciting.
Exciting.
Councilmember Graff.
Just a note of appreciation. When I moved here in 2014, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, Goal was the first place I signed up to get involved in the community. And it was a bicycle race. It was a master series, and just the energy around it all was just
Yeah.
intoxicating. And it was kind of like the Goal Foundation has been like the welcome wagon for me in coming
That's
to
cool.
Ogden as a newcomer. And it's been a joy to continue, and you really have an opportunity, and you do so much with a volunteer force and a mighty staff of 6. So congratulations, and you
Thanks.
juggle all of the partners. It's really an amazing undertaking, and you produce a great result, and it's an integral part of the city and what makes this home for so many people. So thanks, Troy.
For sure. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for letting me be part of it. So.
They
Anything
asked,
else?
but I'll just give you some kudos to it. Foundation's one of those set apart organizations for our city and
That's cool.
for you know.
Yeah, no, I guess I'll end it with, you know, we continually revisit our strategic plan and have pretty big visions of, you know, new things and tweaked things and refining our current operations and stuff. So you'll see in the next 3 to 5, I think, continued growth and refinement, and we're excited to make it happen.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
Thanks again. Very welcome. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ken will-
Yes.
or-
Marcia Tuesday. Oh, you got one for this.
So, next item on our agenda is fiscal year 24-25, second quarter. And I'm going to announce the next one too, which is 2024-25 second quarter financial report. Justin Sorensen will be presenting those.
Thank you, Chair, council members, Vice Chair, appreciate the opportunity to come here and go over a couple of our quarterly reports with you, give you an update on some things number wise of what's going on in the city right now. So the first up, as was mentioned, is to go over the CIP quarterly report. So these figures in this report are as of December 31st. So obviously we're a couple months removed from then, but to give you an idea of where we're at. So a couple of the pictures that I've included today in the slide deck. This first one is some pictures from the public safety gym expansion that was recently completed. So it turned out really nice with that project. Maybe. There we go. All right. Just as a reminder, I like to keep this slide on here just to for those that may be listening in of the different ways that we fund our projects in the city. We do have a large portion of our projects funded through our BDA lease revenue that we receive, but we also have other sources that help to fund projects. Recently, we've used some medical funds to help with funding projects, also using general fund dollars. We also have different restricted taxes that we receive from our Class B and C road funds and active transportation. Those are restricted and can only be used for certain types of projects, but they have been a big benefit in helping with projects related to roads and sidewalks. We also receive funds from the county, the ramp grant funds, and also WACOG funds for various, the ramp ones for parks and recreation projects, and WACOG for other street projects. We also occasionally will get state funds or federal funds for different projects, as well as FAA, which is also federal, but those are related to the airport. And from time to time, we also receive donations. The picture here, you can see the one on the left is the old net at the El Monte driving range. And the one on the right is the new net that they were able to put up at this last, over the winter. And this was, we were able to fund this through critical project contingency a few months back. And so that, it's kind of, it's pretty amazing to see what that will look like and where it was and what it looks like now, so. To give you an update as far as the total amount of funds that have been appropriated just this year, this does not include prior year appropriations. This is just appropriations within our projects this year. The CIP fund's a little misleading. That $24 million does include, if you recall, back in December, we moved $8 million out of the general fund into the CIP fund and still needs to be appropriated towards a use. So that's a portion of that. And then the water utility, sanitary, and storm utilities, those budgets were for their ongoing projects related to their master plans. The golf fund, that funding was for continued irrigation improvements at Mount Ogden. And then the airport appropriation is related to the terminal that they're working on right now. So,
Justin, on the golf fund, on that irrigation at Mount Ogden, is that a one-phase project or is it designed to be done over multiple phases?
The way that it is written out is it's several phases to be able to do it. It just is so much to do it all at once. But I know that Todd and Justin Anderson are both looking at, what it would take to try to finish that project sooner. So maybe putting more funding into it at one time, so that we're not having to do it for several more years as costs continue to rise. And so,
Well, not only that, the mobilization costs are
Yeah.
horrible.
which that is a good point. So Todd actually held on to the funds that were set aside last fiscal year. And then with the appropriation, this funds this fiscal year, he was able to do a lot more this year to reduce down that mobilization cost.
Yeah. Get that done quicker.
Right.
Thanks.
Just informative, there's currently over 100 projects, different CIPs that have funding in them between the CIP fund and the different enterprise funds, just for informational purposes. The spending during the last quarter includes over $9 million in the CIP fund. Oh, I meant to point out, so these pictures here are related to the 20th Street project. I thought I'd include those, and on the next slide, this is a before and after of 20th Street. You can see the way the road looked and what it looks like now. So, but during the second quarter, we had over $9 million in spending in the CIP fund. That was mainly due to two projects, the Marshall White Center and 20th Street. That was almost $8 million of the $9 million that was spent during the quarter. We also had over almost $2.5 million in the water utility, mainly part of the pipe replacement program. And then same with sanitary and storm, the amounts spent in those funds were related to their master plan projects. And then again, the golf course, that $730,000 in spending was 2 years worth of funding for the irrigation at Mount Ogden. And then the 46,000 is to date in the airport fund. That's as they're starting to, we've seen at that, as of December 31st, we didn't have any invoices yet for the terminal. So those we'll start to see those expenses coming through this next quarter. Any questions on the CIP? These are some pictures of the Marshall White Center for reference, but
Any questions for Justin?
on this report. All right. Switch gears and talk numbers, financial numbers. All right. So this is our quarterly financial report as of December 31st for the city. So these numbers are kind of small. I won't go through all of them. They are in the packet for reference. But what we're showing here is what's been budgeted in each of the funds, and then what has been received in revenue versus what has been spent on the expenditure side. So is there any questions on this one? There's not really, there's a lot of information here. We're going over all the different funds. Some of them, it may look like the spending's really high versus revenues. A lot of that could be timing as far as when revenues are received in the utilities. And I'll talk about this again, but the utilities, a lot of times will have higher in expenditures because of the capital improvement projects that are going on. So that would relate to why sometimes those expenditures are outpacing revenues in those funds. But I'll leave that up for just a second if there's any questions on that before I move to the next one.
So I'm assuming that's the risk management fund issue. There, that's 79% year to date. It's kind of tiny there, but just the timing.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of those is with payments, the timing when those payments go out, correct? A lot of those are at the beginning of the fiscal year that we send out those payments. So this is looking at the revenues in the general fund. So I'll talk about the general fund and then we'll talk about the enterprise funds. So you can see here, again, a majority of the revenues for the general fund are taxes, which is our property taxes, sales tax, franchise tax, and also our fee in lieu, which is our fee in lieu of taxes, the motor vehicles. And so you can see as of today, we are at approximately 53% received. That is deceiving a little bit in the essence that you would anticipate we'd receive half of our revenues by now. But each of those revenue types come in at different times. So sales tax is always a month behind. So at this point in the year, we would have only received 5 months of sales tax. But property tax all comes in usually always comes in December, but there was a timing and we did receive part of our distribution in January. So what is received through December 31st does include a majority of our property taxes and then 5 months of sales tax. And then you can see where our licenses and permits are right on target. And so one thing to note is, as I was reviewing through these with our licenses and permits, our intergovernmental revenues, our charges for services and fine for forfeitures, all of those are on target for what we've budgeted or slightly ahead. Intergovernmental does, I guess I should point out, intergovernmental, that would be the funds that we receive from our BNC and Prop 1. So again, those are also a timing in when we get those and recognize those. That's why it shows that they're not necessarily at 50% already. Here's a snapshot of and a breakdown of the taxes as mentioned. So the top portion is as of December 31st. So you can see where we were at, what's reported in the report in your packet. But I wanted to include where we're at as of today. So this would include 7 months of sales tax that we've received. And I just wanted to report that as of our last distribution, we are actually on target with our budget. So if you recall, last year we ended up short of our budget by just under 2%. But as of right now, we are at budget with our sales tax. So things are looking good that way. And then property taxes, that looks high, but again, that's a majority of our property taxes are received in November and December and then January. And then our franchise and our other taxes are received. So again, any questions on where we were at as of December or where we're at through today?
Thanks for clarification on the sales tax thing, Justin. I appreciate that because I did recall we were trailing last year a little bit. With regard to intergovernmental funds, are there any things that are making you nervous right now as it pertains to monies that flow from Washington, D.C. directly to us or through the state to us?
For these two particular ones, these are through the state. So I'm not concerned about those ones. And those ones actually are exceeding, as far as like our class B and C funds are actually higher than what we had anticipated for what we've received to date. But regarding any federal funds at that level, a lot of those we recognize in our miscellaneous grants, but there is a concern there, but we're proceeding forward as is until anything changes. And so we haven't had anything come back until that we can't get anything reimbursed at this point.
Okay.
Hey, Justin, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
We always talk about budget to received. Do we ever, I guess, have we ever reported expenses? So, as a business, most of the time we're budget expenses received or received expenses. And I just wonder, why does a city not do that?
So I just want to make sure I understand. So you're asking why we don't show in here revenues versus expenses and
Not this page, yeah, not this page, but the other page that you were on. A few ones back, yeah.
On this one?
Uh-huh.
So this one doesn't.
It does have your expenditure, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So this one does include the
Sorry.
budget. Oh, you're okay. So yeah, so this one does include the budget and then the year-to-date revenues and year-to-date expenditures by fund.
Sorry, I missed that as it was going by, so sorry about that. Thanks.
Yeah, so, and then looking at, on the expenditure side for the general fund, so this is a breakdown by department of how spending is going through December 31st. The two things I wanted to point out here, the blue column is the budgets for each department, and then the gray column is, the gray bar is the actuals, the actual expended. Non-departmental appears high. A lot of that's due to our debt payments. We pay our debt payments out of our non-departmental department. And so a lot of those are due at the beginning, the first half of the year. So that's why that's running high. And then I wanted to point out police and fire, their percent of spending to budget looks really low. And the reason that is because we moved most of their wages out of the general fund for the first 6 months to use towards the ARPA funds. And so it brought down, so it makes it looks like there's not much spending in wages, but we will still make that through the rest of the year, if that makes sense. So, are there any questions on that or any of the other departments on the spending?
Okay, you just are still
Oh,
green.
I'm still,
So,
green.
okay.
Sorry.
On the enterprise funds, so this shows the budgets for each of our enterprise funds along with revenues and expenses. Again, the enterprise funds, especially the water utility, the sanitary sewer, and the storm utility, those budgets look really high. When we post any carryover from prior year, so at the end of the year, whatever's remaining in projects, when we carry those over, that increases those budgets, and so it'll make those budgets look really high. But they were from prior appropriated budgets, or projects. If I can talk, I am so sorry. They're for prior appropriated projects, so that's why those budgets appear so high. But there wasn't, as far as our review, there wasn't any concerns here. The typical, when you look at revenues versus expense for each of these enterprise funds, nothing was of concern from our office, so. And then in looking at our internal service funds, for our fleet and facilities, our IT and risk management, again, you can see the budgets versus spending and actual, and a lot of times expenditures will exceed revenues for our internal service funds, just as a timing, as they spend funds, and then we need to do reimbursements through work orders, and so those revenues may not be recognized yet.
Can we go back to the enterprise funds
Yes.
real quick? I'm guessing your comment just went past me too quick. When I looked at this, it seemed that everything but refuse was behind in revenues, but exceeding budget. So the bottom line was like 18% collected versus 38% of budgeted expenditures already out there. Does that match up? Am I looking at that wrong?
So so is that the total amount for all the enterprise funds? Is that
And
the
so,
number? that
yeah,
you're looking
that's
at?
what I was looking at, is that bottom line. But if we go to,
So a couple reasons why that is.
okay,
In the water, sanitary, and storm funds, where we've already appropriated funds for projects, a lot of times our expenditures will exceed the revenues because of spending on projects. In the BDO fund, the property management fund, that's
Yep.
where we recognize our revenue in from BDO lease revenue. But then we also transfer out those funds for what was appropriated. And a lot of those transfers we do at the beginning of the year. And so so if you look at the property management fund, there's only $4 million recognized in
Right.
revenue, but
And $15
15 in
million
expense. And that's
expended,
because
yeah.
we've already recorded all of those transfers out. But the revenue that we receive from BDO happens during the year. And so at this point, we'd only received one distribution from BDO, just timing of when we get those payments for the
Okay.
leases.
So
So that would contribute to why in total, the property management fund is the big one that would lead to why it shows that way in total when you're looking at all the enterprise funds.
okay. So going through it all, no red flags around where we're tracking with revenue and expenditures in the enterprise.
No,
Okay.
not at this point.
Thanks.
And Justin, I have the same question
Yeah.
on this page. Because it shows that the budget is high. You explained that I'm not grasping it entirely. So can you help me again?
Yeah.
I'm sorry that just is not
Yeah.
getting through, that I don't understand completely.
So at the end of the year,
Is this also the BDO money that comes back over into that, or where does the projected budget money come from?
on which,
The revenue,
on which fund are you
you're
speaking
looking
of?
at all of
At all of
those,
them?
and the budget is much higher than what the revenues are, and then some of the expenditures are higher than what the revenue is. And that, from my perspective, that's flag. So I
Right.
don't quite, I'm not putting all together how this works, and I just.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Please help me to.
Yeah, let me see if I can explain. So there's two different pieces to this. So the first on the utility funds, so water, sanitary and storm. So as we appropriate projects, a lot of those are using funds received through fees, correct? And at the end of the year, any of those projects that have been funded that are not fully spent, we would carry those budgets forward. When we carry those forward, the revenues would have already been received for those. But we budgetarily, we have to
Received the previous year.
in prior years. And so we're still haven't spent those funds on projects.
Where do they transfer over into the budget? Do they?
We would carry them forward, so that, and because we have to match revenues or we have to budget revenues and expenditures, we do on the revenue side, it's a use of fund balance is what we recognize. So we wouldn't actually receive more revenue, but we're increasing the expense so they can still spend those funds from a prior year. If that makes sense.
But those budget funds don't carry over in the same category. Am I correct? Or you're
They
putting
do,
them
so
into-
they do. So if it was budgeted to be used for water utility projects, we carry it forward to be able to be used for a water utility project.
But the reason we don't see this on your graph and on your charts is because it's realized, the revenue is realized in a previous year.
Correct. Correct. And then on the property management fund, that one's a little different to look at as well, because we do two things with that fund. Because we don't budget to use the funds in the year that we receive them. We always put those into fund balance at the end of the year and then appropriate what we're going to use the following year. And so that fund looks like it's technically twice as high because one, you're recognizing revenue coming in that's going to go to fund balance, but then we're also recognizing a use of fund balance that we're transferring out from the prior year funds, if that helps. So that's part of why that budget is high as well.
And that helps. So when you say fund balance, do each one of those enterprise funds have a fund balance that
Mhm.
carries over? Okay.
Yes, each one would have its, each one is its own fund that we track separately, and each would have its
So
own.
we
fund
just don't get to
balance.
see that in this perspective today because you're
Right.
talking about today.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you would see those in our financial report and our annual financial report. Each fund is listed and shows what their individual fund balances are.
Okay.
So, but we do see that as at the end of the year, when we appropriate any excess to the general fund. So if there's an overage in water utility collections, that's our franchise fee and our, right, property tax thing and,
Oh, the transfer?
yeah. So,
So that's already built into the budget as far as that, the transfer. And then during the year, we record a portion of that each month to record that transfer based on the revenues that will be received in those utilities, and then record that revenue in on the general fund side.
okay, so those monies are recognized separate from anything that's been budgeted for, as an expense that will be carried over because it's going to be paid for in the next year.
I'm not
Yeah,
quite tracking.
I know.
Um,
I won't get tangled up in that. I'll just keep listening.
Okay.
Thank you.
But just to clarify one last thing for me.
yeah.
The calendar year starts in the third quarter of the.
Our,
That's
our
when our
third,
year
our third
starts.
quarter would be January, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this would be the second quarter of our fiscal year, but December 31st ending. Correct. All right. With that, is there any other questions I can try to answer for you?
No more questions for Justin, huh? Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
All right, next item up on our agenda is fiscal year 2023-24 annual grants report. Coralie Jensen. Welcome, Coralie.
Thank you. All right, so this is just a summary of all the grants that were managed by the city during fiscal year 24, as well as all of the expenditures that we had expended in fiscal year 24. We had just over $10 million in expenditures. The original grant awards were around 52.3 million. And we have about 33 million remaining in grant funds. The majority of the grant funds remaining are in the US Department of Treasury, which are the ARPA funds. All of those have been encumbered as of December 31st of 2024 and need to be expended by December 31st of 2026. As Justin mentioned, a majority of we used part of those for police and fire wages and benefits through the end of December. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, this does not include the HUD grants, since those are presented separately by Community and Economic Development. But just for your information, they had about $3.6 million in expenditures and HUD grants in fiscal year 24. Any questions on all of these?
Any questions for Corley? Apparently
So,
not.
Great, this is awesome. Okay, so just a history of our grant awards. That should say awards, not awards. Sorry. Yeah, when it's in a public meeting. Great. Yeah, so last year we did have 87 grants, but our expenditures were 7.8 million approximately. This year we have 80 grants being managed by the city, and we have about $10 million in expenditures. I do know we have our grant writer in the police department and also the one in public services that's helping with other departments, and we've definitely seen the fruits of their labor through this, and we're seeing those grant awards going up. Again, part of this does include federal, state, and county grants, as well as grants from outside organizations. So, any questions on that
Questions about that?
or any of the grants? I can try to answer them.
You're
Great.
file forward.
This is awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Corley. All right. Next item on the agenda is WonderBlock parking update. We have Mr. Taylor Nelson here to present to us. Welcome, Taylor.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. Probably a quick point of clarification. We're not going to talk about any downtown managed parking stuff. This is just the WonderBlock structure. So if there's question, I'm probably the wrong guy to answer that. I'm the right guy to answer the questions on the east parking garage, which I can go as in depth if you guys would like to go. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. What we wanted to talk about is originally there was an agreement that we entered into with the state of Utah for parking arrangements with the court. And in order for them to give up some of their parking in the back, they moved some of their parking into our structure, and there were some numbered stalls that were adjusted. The original agreement indicated that they would be able to pull in, they being the court, and would start occupying from the first floor going up. And we didn't think that was a great idea to have anyone that came in the parking structure would have to basically go up 3 floors before they could find the first available stall. So we appreciate our partners at the court. We sat down, we started renegotiating tenets of this agreement, and part of that is just what we've got before us. And so one item is we took those parking stalls that would have started on level 1 and moved their employee parking to level 2. And so they will have approximately 57 stalls on level 2. They'll be accessible to the elevators. They'll be able to come and go. And then we moved a lot of their juror parking and everything else up to floor 6. I think we're putting about 30 stalls on floor 6, and then the remainder would be on floor 8. So there is an option in the future for the courthouse to come in and buy more stalls from the city at market rate. We did put provisions in the agreement to say, once, we have more details on our managed parking system, we'll sit down and have these conversations all over again. But we felt like this was a win-win scenario for both groups. It allowed us to really utilize that first floor for a lot of turnover traffic, and then enabled them to still have what they needed, access in and out of the courthouse. Plus, I think in this setup, it gives them a better access. What they did is they did access out of the northwest side of the parking structure, and they will now have a back access into the judge's parking portion. And so I think overall, it just worked out best for all the groups. So again, we appreciate our partners with their state, their willingness to come in and talk to us on this one. And we feel like this is a great opportunity for us and great use of this structure.
Councilmember Chimberger?
Oh, yeah, no, I just had a quick question. That sounds great. I was just curious, and I know, I'm not sure if we've actually purchased the technology or anything yet, but we talked about having some indicator at the front, right, that says how many stalls are available. Is that still kind of part of the thinking?
That is a great question. I don't have that answer.
Okay.
So I would love something like that because I've seen stuff like that at the
Yeah,
airport,
like
but
at City Creek, you know, they have like
yeah,
every
City
floor
Creek
that tell you
has what
how
the
many
floors are.
spots are available.
I haven't seen the technology list, so I am not sure.
See, that could be
But
helpful.
I think that's a great idea.
Sometimes when you're driving, you see like all the reserved
Oh, yeah.
spots, even when there's no cars there, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, or is it the whole building? or
You're
the
like,
whole
how far up do I have to
structure?
go?
Yeah.
At least if you know you're going to floor 4, then you can go.
Right, you can have an idea. I'm
Absolutely.
just curious.
No, that's great, great comment. Any other questions?
Yes.
Myers.
Yeah.
Your negotiation with the courts is brilliant because there's nothing that sends a more negative message to consumer or a user of the court system than to just have them have to drive up and to reserve those boxes for employees. It just sends a weird message to the public. So I think I just commend you for working that out. That's
Well, thank you. There's a lot of city staff that put a lot of time and effort into this. I just was the lucky one here today being able to present it. So, but thank you for that. We appreciate it.
Is there a limit on how many they can buy? Is it limited by the number they have? Or we took their property?
So there was 2 numbers that we outlined in the agreement. The first one was 125, and of which they've identified, I think, 58 for their employee parking. The remainder was for visitor, with an option in the future to buy an additional 100. Then there's other provisions as well in the agreement for different opt-out clauses and everything else. My hope is we're going to be so wildly, at least we know the volume works. We're going to be so wildly successful in the downtown. We're going to be looking for a whole lot of other places to park.
My question is it generally 1-to-1 from what we
Yeah.
took from them, from what was along the back of the 25th, et cetera?
That's a great question. I don't know if it was 1-to-1.
I really like what you've done during the construction now. You've kind of got those diagonal and those reverse diagonal.
That's
hope-
very temporary. That'll go away.
That's, I thought that's pretty cool.
Well,
Before you
our,
did that.
our hope is to do some other ideas with the Grand Avenue Promenade type items to
Okay,
help with the downtown. So
all right. Great, thanks.
thank you all.
Okay, well, here we are. We did pretty good today. Council business or Janine, you got anything?
So, you've been invited to STEM night, that'll be tomorrow. 5:30 p.m. Topic is sustainability. And air quality. I kind of ran with it. Like, if one of you are available. Dave asked about elevated historic that's at the Sycamore development. And Jeremy has arranged to have sort of an open house next Tuesday at 3. So before the session, if you want to stop in and take a look at the house there. And just one of the questions, we had been discussing some potential changes to the landscaping ordinance. Has requested the city. So leadership, member hire and if you wanted to go take demonstration gardens, it is our larger watershed. That takes a long time to do that. And so we wondered if you're interested in doing that. We have contacted, we were basing on they're willing to do that if you think it would be helpful or the trouble is that, you know, it is scheduling it. You know, we tentatively scheduled it for April 15th at 2:30, a Tuesday. But we could schedule it on a fourth Tuesday if that works better. We could, the trouble is we're coming up on budget season, right? So we're not going to have lots and lots of time, but we can certainly make that happen if you're interested.
Janine, when you talked to them, did they say they would provide help or mentoring or whatever, other than just walk around and see the plants and stuff like that? Are they gonna kind of show how they might be used and how they?
Yeah, there'll be a tour guide.
Okay,
I didn't talk to him, Mavis did, but they will be there to talk through and about the plants and options for using them.
they do have a watershed tour. I haven't seen the date for that yet, but you can sign up for that, and that is available after the watershed tour. And I recommend the watershed tour, pretty informative, so. But if you don't want to do that, you know, the demonstration garden is available there for you. But it's just, it kind of does show how much water they use and how much they save, stuff like that, so. It's pretty informative for those who want to pick out plants for their property.
I've done that tour before, you know, maybe it was a special event that we were invited to or something, and it is really interesting, and I could possibly go again, but I don't know if there's other people that actually haven't been there or haven't seen it. Might be interesting.
Definitely interested.
Yeah,
Part.
I'm interested.
In the whole tour or just the demonstration garden?
Demonstration garden.
Okay.
We did the whole tour, what, last year? Year and a
2
half
years ago, yeah.
And I don't know much about the rest of the watershed.
They load you on a bus. Well, they have a presentation before you go. They talk about their watershed, what happens, where it comes from. I think last time didn't we go to the south end of the watershed? So this next
We
time
went
will
all
be
the
at,
way up to Smith and more.
yeah, so they'll go on the north end, which starts at Causey this year. And,
Oh, okay.
so it's a different tour every other year.
Probably don't get to go into a dam.
Yeah, you
or a
do.
Lake.
You get to go in under Causey.
Pineview?
Causey,
Or Causey.
yeah. So,
It's cool.
It's pretty amazing.
yeah, it really is.
Highly
Move
recommend, well,
water.
just understanding how far our water system comes from and
Yeah.
how it all flows together and the
Yeah.
infrastructure, just amazing.
The thing I thought was really interesting is they explained how the water rights work.
Yeah.
And that was kind of fascinating. And so you start talking about they're trying to move water rights further up the hill and up the watershed. They have some creative ways of doing that. I like I said, I think I recommend it. It's kind of an interesting tour. Especially where we're putting in water.
They do that annually though? I mean, that's one
think
that's.
it's every
one
2
could
years.
Sign up, yeah, I could sign up for that separately too, so we wouldn't have to have it special for us.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's an all-day tour.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep.
Well, oftentimes when councilman chair today hired talks about water, it's the sewer related thing. So I just want to make sure that
Clean sparkling water.
differentiate.
Which
where
water
we're
are you
going.
talking about?
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Okay, well, we will get it scheduled and we'll probably get a van so that you can just meet here and you can all go over together.
If they're gonna do a standalone tour for that, it'll probably be a better tour than we get on the watershed tour anyway. So
Mhm.
that'll be good. Okay, thank you.
So can I come back to the thing tomorrow night at
Mhm.
Shadow Valley, and Brandon, you might have some insight. I'm willing to go. It's in my district. What's expected of a council person in attendance?
Just to show it, basically very similar to the idle free,
Month.
idle free month appearances at elementary schools, where you're just going to go and look at the different projects that they've been working on, because idle free kind of spurred a lot of these projects, and so they just want to be able to show those off to council members and talk about different solutions and ideas for air quality. So
Okay, so is this kind of a visit a tabling event?
that's
Okay.
what it sounds like to me. Yeah,
Okay, all right,
I wasn't given a ton of detail, but that is my understanding.
okay. 5:30 tomorrow night, Shadow
Sounds
Valley.
right off.
Okay.
Shadow- Not sure what it's gonna happen.
Hey, I have a quick, yeah, if,
Chair White, jump in here.
just a real quick comment. So I'm out in DC at the National League of Cities, and I'm just gonna tell you since we're on the heels of Coralie talking about grants, there are, and I just give this plug and I don't know if Coralie's still in the room or not, but there are several federal contracts that are being delayed. And so just if they are being delayed at any step of the way, even if they're signed by the parties, there's some pause on some of the contracts. And so the National League of Cities is requesting that we get back to them as far as any delays on contracts. Anything from transportation contracts to small business contracts, those kind of things. And so it seems like that's a major issue or a major, I can't even turn without somebody saying, do you have any delays? Do you have any delays? So if you do, please let us know, and we'll try to get back to through the Utah League and then back to the National League. And then just as an FYI, it was very fun. We got to do a Capitol tour last night, and Senator Curtis was there, Representative Malloy, Representative Moore, Representative Burgess, Representative Owens, and Representative Kennedy all led all of us in a private Capitol tour last night, which was really pretty unprecedented in that we have a really, really good federal contingency and really care about what local governments are doing. And so it was just really nice to hear that at least our Utah folks are still looking after us from a local level. So yeah, I just wanted to report back. If anybody, I don't know if Coralie's still in the room or not, but the grants are a huge deal out here. So that's all.
Thanks, Marcia. She is here. She's nodding over there. So
Okay, great.
I think that concludes our business, and we'll stand adjourned until 6 o'clock then.
All righty.